Hi, Denise, Naylor here, and welcome to News Views on Monday, 5th of February 2018. Now, for those of you who listened to me last week will remember that I was talking about Carillion PLC, the situation with the regulator, and I was commenting that I'd like to see the regulator step in. Well, good news. The regulator has stepped in. And last week, Monday 29th of January, the regulator announced that they will indeed be looking into the matter. So what can the regulator do? Well, if you go to their website, the Financial Reporting Council, that's www.frc.org.uk, and don't forget the UK, otherwise you'll get the United States regulator, you'll notice that they state on the front of their website, quote, "We hold auditors, accountants and actuaries to account for the quality of their work." Well, that can't be any more clearly stated, in my opinion. And they have opened a case. The case is named KPMG LLP, Carillion PLC. The type of case is audit enforcement procedure, and it was announced on the 29th of January 2018. Now, if you look a little bit further on their website, you'll notice that they have a portable document format, 24 pages, and it is called Audit Enforcement Procedure. Now, I'm not going to read 24 pages, don't worry, but I'd just like to tell you what's in that document. Very, very interesting and worth your attention because it really outlines the process that the regulator has available to it. So, the Financial Reporting Council can, first of all, they're going to appoint a case examiner. And the job of the case examiner is to determine whether or not there's been a breach of any rules and regulations. If they find there has been a breach, then they will launch an investigation. The investigation will obviously pull up details, interview people, and gather all sorts of information, witness statements, documents, and so on. The next thing that will happen will be that there will be an enforcement action through an enforcement committee, and this enforcement committee meets in private. Now, up until this point, in this case KPMG and Carillion PLC directors, up until this point, people being investigated can fess up. They can say to the regulator, you know what, there was a problem and this is what we propose to do. And in that way, the whole thing will stay private. But if the regulator decides to push ahead and that anything that KPMG, the auditor, or the directors of the company, Carillion PLC, puts forward is not considered adequate in their defence, then they'll move to a tribunal hearing. Now, a tribunal hearing will be held in public. And it's very interesting. We don't get these very often, and it's going to be very interesting if this happens. One of the things it says in the document is, and I quote, that the tribunal hearing may exclude from the hearing any person whose conduct has disrupted or is likely to disrupt the proceedings. Oh, you mean like employees who've lost their jobs? You mean like pensioners of Carillion who are in poverty now? You mean like mum and pop small businesses that have spent a lifetime building up expertise as suppliers to these big companies and now hasn't been paid? As a result, at this point, the FRC, the regulator, can issue interim orders. In other words, they can seek to change behaviour during the process. They don't have to wait until they've got to the end. They can say, right, whatever's happening, you need to start doing X, Y, and Z. And then there'll be a final decision. Now, how long this takes, we'll have to see. They also have sanctions that they can impose. These include financial sanctions. They can hit them in the wallet, and they can actually ban them. So potentially they can ban the person who was the senior statutory auditor of KPMG on the account Carillion on a temporary basis, or possibly permanently from ever acting as auditor to a public limited company. So they have a wide range of sanctions. There is a right of appeal against decisions, and there's also what they call a reconsideration stage, which can happen if, for example, the judgment turns out to be wrong in law. Now, although the regulator takes its powers from the law, it isn't the law. So just occasionally this can happen. So we started the horse is out of the gate. We've started the process of the audit enforcement procedure, and it's going to be very interesting. And as I said last week, one of the major advantages of regulatory approach is it's much faster than waiting for the law to change. So we'll see. There is some other good news. I talked about the productivity puzzle. I talked about the cost to firms, particularly in London, but in all major cities in the UK, of the difficulty of transportation and the cost of commuting for those of us who work. Well, this week, again, big week for everybody, the Northern Line on Transport for London, tfl.gov.uk, has doubled the capacity of trains during the rush hour, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. And I can tell you, that's true. Because when I came out of the office on Wednesday, I got a seat on the underground train. I didn't have to travel with my nose in a stranger's armpit. So that's great. But I couldn't help thinking to myself, well, where's everyone gone? And I soon found out. Because when I stepped out of my train at the other end, the line up for the buses was 10 deep. Okay, never mind. It's a help. At least we can be in comfort on the train. And you know what? Perhaps I'll walk home and not take the bus. So I'll end up even fitter than I am now. Thanks for listening. Remember, as I say, always go to original sources and don't take anything for granted. Do your own research. And do join me again